of this Assyrian general. And this woman was in mourning. So she gets out of mourning. She says, and she gets all dressed up in her finery, goes over to the camp, and proceeds to get the general, passed out drunk, and she cuts his head off. Which in turn not just horrifies but terrifies the Assyrian army, thinking, holy shit, if this is what a woman can do, but you're not taught about her. And then you have Yael, who also non-Judean, non-Hebrew, who also, took care of an enemy general by knocking a tent peg through his mouth, through his head, skull. The strong women of the Old Testament are never mentioned.
Yeah.
If at all.
When's that going to change? Is there any kind of movement for it, or are we just?
I don't know because I think I don't know. I mean, I learned about I think it depends for us Jewish kids who was teaching you religious school. As my late cantor would say, it's religious school, not Sundays, because you go to learn about the religion, not about Sundays. And he was the one that told us that David and Jonathan were lovers. And this was like what? We were not candy sugar-coated. But you don't hear about that because when they say in the Wikipedia about Judith, she's called a murderess. Mm-hmm. How horrible that this woman did this to this man. Oh. The ancient Hebrews, Judeans, by the way, folks, I'm going to get a little technical here. Prior to 73 AD, Palestine did not exist. Well, it did exist when you think about David and Goliath. But after that, the kingdom of Philistia, which was a coastal kingdom, disappeared. Mm-hmm. And then you had the kingdom of Judea. Where do you think the word Jew comes from?
Right.
It's a pejorative for Judean.
Yep.
In the 70 CE, there were the Jewish wars. Judea rose up in rebellion. Judea, Samaria, that whole area, the Judeans, Israel, and all of those folks, all of us Hebrews, in Roman-occupied Judea, rose up and started fighting Rome for independence. Rome crushed that rebellion in 72 AD, and partly as punishment, what they did was they destroyed the Second Temple. Mm-hmm. Then the other thing that Rome had great success with was wiping the memory of an area out. And what they did is they not so much burned everything, they renamed the land.
Yeah.
And after and in 73 AD, after they crushed the Jewish rebellion, the Judean rebellion, mm-hmm. they renamed that entire region Syria, Palestina.
Yeah. I did not know that. And now, what has really changed? Except for the Italian...
Except for the fuck up... Well, see, the whole thing with the mandate was arbitrary borders and all that bullshit. Because there were Jews living in Iran and Syria and all over the Middle East and the Levant. And the mandate... And had the Ottoman Empire sided with had been on the winning side of things, they wouldn't have lost their empire. Right. Every time you see every flag in that area with a star and crescent on it, it's not Islam. That is not an Islamic flag. That is a flag of the Ottoman Turk Empire. Mm-hmm. Because that was the banner of the Ottoman of Ataturk.
Yeah, and they were incredibly powerful in their time. I think the whole
and incredibly egalitarian.
Yeah. Yeah, I get picked on today for being egalitarian, and I don't see what's wrong with it. I mean, the sexism in American culture hasn't really gone anywhere. It's become more subtle, and as you see I mean, there seems to be an uprising of men that want to become men again because they've been raised by single mothers. So I don't know what that's all about, but I guess.
But then you take a look at. But I know a lot of men that have been raised by single mothers, and they're men.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess it depends mostly on the mother, really.
I think it mostly depends on how how the child, male or female, deals with it.
Yeah.
Really. You know, I love lurking on Reddit because there's some great stuff there. And there is some Reddits, a couple of a Reddit called the Red Pill, and these are all beta males who are just like, women do this, social justice, feminism, women. Now, these are the guys that can't get laid if a woman lays down and spread her legs, okay? The guy that the university student that shot up the sorority, he was a red pillar. He couldn't understand why women didn't want to fuck him because he was at wealth and this, that, and the other. He just couldn't understand why this wouldn't like strip their clothes off and, you know, fuck him while he drove down the street.
Yeah.
This was a guy who had no social skills whatsoever, and I don't know if that was because there was a social anxiety, or he just was never properly social, or what, or if he just never, you know, or he just had this big fucking attitude because that's how his parents brought him up.
Right.
With this entitled attitude.
Yeah. This is the guy that, are you talking about the younger kid that was like 17 or 18 that went shooting, or?
No, this was the college kid who, he did some, I can't remember his name, but it was in Southern California.
I think we've talked about this story before.
Yeah, and there were some videos of him in his car talking about not understanding why women didn't want him. I mean, he had money and looks at this, that, and the other, but he was an arrogant, entitled fuck.
Yeah.
Dude, you could be wealthy, this, that, and the other, but if you were like a nice guy, I mean, I dated a guy who was narcissistic, but he was kind of cool. You know, as much as he could, he cared about my well-being, as long as it didn't interfere too much with me, without him. But he was also very successful at what he did. Musician, several Grammy nominations under his belt. So he had a right to have a high opinion of himself because he deserved a high opinion of himself.
See, that's always baffled me, though. I can't imagine success making someone suddenly believe that they're more valuable to the world than the human next to them. That's always bothered me. But
it's not that he considered himself more valuable. It's just that he, and that's not what entitlement actually just means. You feel that, okay, the perfect example of somebody whose parents did a really shitty ass job raising them to be a good human being is Donald Trump.
We had to go to Donald Trump. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. He thinks that if you're married, you can't possibly rape your wife. He thinks that women are animals.
No. That was one of somebody who no longer works for him.
That wasn't Donald Trump?
No, that was one of Donald Trump's people.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a relief.
But you see, Ivana had to come out and recant her story because of the non-disclosure. She could not confirm the story, or else she would have lost whatever she was still getting from him.
Well, I got a feeling as the political season rolls on, you're going to see some more things coming out. And
there's already a bunch of things coming out. You know that when he should never have been given licenses for his casinos in Jersey because he was accused of bribery. You know, he's got mob connections. He built Trump Tower, and when the Bonwit Teller building was torn down, he had undocumented Polish men working for him, for a subcontractor, who weren't paid proper wages, that were not given gear. And he actually said, well, I didn't know that was bullshit. You had to know, you were there. You saw these guys working, tearing down the building that didn't have proper, safety hard hats or anything like that. Plus, this was a non-union destruction gig, and yet there was no picketing. The only way in New York City you can get away with not having union picketers at your construction site is if you've got to deal with a mob. So he may not be beholden to big donors, but but somewhere along the line, he owes the mob something.
Yeah. That's what I don't get. He says, I have my own money. I don't need favors from anybody. I got a feeling there are a lot of deals that are open-ended for him.
Well, like I said, he said he's got his own money. He took a hit in the liquid assets with a lot of the shit that he said.
Yeah.
He may be a paper billionaire, but it's not liquid asset. His casinos had liens on them. So if you had money in a real estate investment trust that had investments in his properties, you were fucked if something happened. Yeah. Because you were never going to see a return.
Well, I wonder if people that have helped him invest, based on some of the things he's been saying, have been going ahead and selling some stock and getting out of there, just on the, precipice that it's not going to go well for him and his businesses.
Well, the Trump organization is worthless.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Why do people?
Because he's a big mouth villain. He is saying things He is saying the things a lot of people want to say. He is the id for a lot of people right now. Yeah. He hasn't gone on as far as to use certain pejoratives, but with Jorge Ramos, when he was kicked, he says, I have been, in press conferences with dictators, and I have not been treated like this, and I've never been escorted out. You're dealing with somebody who doesn't like to be questioned.
Yes, absolutely.
Who says, nobody can question me because because this is who I am, and fuck all the rest of you.
Yeah. That's not going to go well because, as
it's not because
heats up, questions are your avenue in with the American people. And if you won't answer any, then
he's still going after, he's still going after Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
And Kelly's having, and he's going after her because she's standing up to him.
Yeah.
She's giving him the middle finger. She doesn't deal with that bullshit.
Right. Well, I'm proud of that.
Oh yeah. Her questions committed journalism.
Yeah.
She has every right to ask him those questions.
Absolutely.
And he wants to say, he doesn't go anywhere in public. He's a germaphobe. He's like Howie Mandel, doesn't shake hands with people.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So he does all of his, interviews. He doesn't go into television. He's too big to go into a studio to sit down and talk with people. Yeah. He doesn't actually mix with people. Apparently, his his bodyguards, have themselves done up so they look like Secret Service.
Yeah. What do you think the chances are that Donald Trump is a genuine, certifiable psychopath?
Oh, he's a sociopath. He's not a psychopath. He's a sociopath. He is a sociopath.
Because I remember the movie.
Because psychopaths have some form of emotion. This man has none.
Cold, calculating, without remorse.
He's a sociopath.
I don't think I've ever heard a political candidate say that POWs who are captured are losers. I like winners. I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Well, you have to understand, he just pissed off a lot of people, a lot of veterans, a lot of veterans' families.
Oh yeah.
He just doesn't give a shit. Whether or not he really I don't think he really he's like Mitt Romney. He doesn't really want to be president. He understands the limitations of the presidency.
Right.
As a CEO of a business, he can fire your ass. He can do whatever the hell he wants and fuck what the board says.
Yeah.
This is a reality show for him.
Well, it certainly can't hurt his publicity. I mean,
there is no such thing as bad publicity.
Right.
On the other hand, there is something called bad publicity because his statements caused him to lose licensing deals, caused him to lose The Celebrity Apprentice, which apparently wasn't really doing all that well in the ratings. He got the shit suit out of him for fraud with Trump University.
And what was that about? Do you know?
real estate investing and how you would get for this large sum of money, you get a one-on-one with Trump, and you never did.